This is The Space Shot, episode 133 for September 24th, 2017. Lunar sample return, and Star Trek returns to television. Hey everyone, welcome to The Space Shot, your daily space history, pop culture, and news fix. I'm John Molnix. Earlier today, I sat down and recorded the first interview for The Space Shot. I talked with Michael Listener, the author of The Précis. We talked a little bit about Sputnik, and I'll be releasing that interview right around the 60th anniversary of that launch. It's the first in a series of regular interviews I'm going to be doing with people in the space community. Next week, I'm going to be talking to two people. I'm going to be talking to Dr. Yu, the curator of space science at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, for The Space Shot, this podcast. I'm also talking to another guest for a project that's going to be announced in just a few days, and I'm super excited to be able to tell people all around the world about that project. I'm going to work on having an interview episode once a week for The Space Shot, so we're going to be able to talk to different people about space, history, science, law, and even some pop culture. If you know anyone that I should interview, send them my way. I've got a brief historical bit for today's episode. On this day in 1970, the Luna 16 sample return capsule landed in Kazakhstan, concluding the first lunar sample return mission for the Soviet Union. Luna 16 was the third time that lunar material had been brought back to Earth, the first two being on Apollo 11 and 12. In all, 101 grams of lunar soil were brought back to Earth from this robotic Soviet spacecraft. Obviously, I'm excited for the new Star Trek series, so I want to mention one piece of Star Trek-related history in today's episode.
Warning, exceeding reaction chamber thermal limit.
Ceasefire.
Shutting down warp engines.
They couldn't have adapted that quickly.
The knowledge and experience of the human, Picard, is part of us now. It has prepared us for all possible courses of action. Your resistance is hopeless. Number one.
On this day in 1990, The Best of Both Worlds Part 2 aired on television. This episode was the conclusion to the events in the Season 3 finale, and it sees the crew of the Enterprise not only fighting the Borg, but fighting the knowledge of Captain Picard in the process. The fictional battle that occurred during this episode was part of the background for Benjamin Sisko, the lead character in the next Star Trek series, Deep Space Nine. When you hear this podcast, the first episode of Star Trek Discovery will most likely have aired online and on TV, and I'll be sharing my thoughts on the first two episodes of Discovery in tomorrow's Space Shot. Check out the show notes for more information on today's episode, and be sure to connect with me on Instagram and Twitter. Find me at John Molnix. I'm always up to chat. Let me know what you think of the show by leaving a rating in iTunes. It takes just a minute, and it makes a huge difference because it helps even more people find the show. I'd also appreciate if you could share The Space Shot with your friends and family, and anyone else that enjoys podcasts. Tomorrow, a Discovery recap, and Mars Observer, an ill-fated mission. I'm John Molnix, and I'll catch you on the flip side.